Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Bol. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, sir.
Katha Desh. At last,
Hare
we have.
Bol. Sorry, modern technology, all glories. What to do?
Welcome, Maharaj.
Thank you, Prabhu, and kindly excuse the delay and whatever inconvenience was there. With your kind permission, I'd like to offer a short invocation and then begin with our seminar.
Yes, Maharaj. Please.
Yes. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshuran Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manubhisam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadama Hyam Dadati Swa Padantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Itinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Sri Prabhupada Ki Jai. So first of all, I would like to thank the devotees who are making this possible today, a presentation on the subject matter of Gomata, a very involved, very large and deep subject matter. I would like to briefly explain the presentation I'm going to make. First of all, I have a few short videos, 3 short videos, and the first one is depicting or showing cows in Vrindavan. I believe this was put together some years back. One devotee, Kurma Rupa Prabhu, very active in caring for cows. So there are 2 short videos of that nature. And then the third one is not exactly video. It's a short PowerPoint entitled, What Cows Want. I believe this will serve as an introduction to the general topic of Gomata. And secondly, after viewing these videos, I would like to share a well-known prayer. Actually, in our Shastra, there are many prayers, many glorification of Mother Cow, and for obvious reasons as well. And this particular one I have chosen is known as Gomati Vidya. Gomati Vidya. I've put it in a PowerPoint format giving the original Sanskrit and the translation. That will be the second part of my presentation. The third will be a PowerPoint made by 2 different devotees, actually. Two different PowerPoints as well. One is made by Ravati Raman Prabhu. Many of you know him, temple president for ISKCON Tirupati and GBC there as well. And the fourth is a presentation by a devotee called Vrishabha Das. He must have spent hours and hours, if not weeks and months, preparing this wonderful presentation on Gomata. So after making these presentations, I will then speak on the subject matter of cow culture, and this will bring us to the end of the presentation, where I will speak and put into perspective what many of you have been hearing about, what we are trying to promote in different countries, called the Sri Sarabhi campaign. So okay. I'm in a little tricky situation in that I don't have full control over the material. I'm asking Rishi Kumar, his good wife, to possibly begin by showing the first video, which is on cows, and if somehow that I can still try from my end here. Let me see. Yeah. Yeah. Well, just one small second. I think it's better you can remove it. I will try to share my screen. Share screen. Desktop. Okay. This first short video is entitled 10 Cows Learn to Love. I'm starting it now. We can see simply by looking how affectionate cows are to one another. Cows, we should remember, are the closest animal to being human. Actually, they take birth in their next life as a human being. That is a natural evolution. This is not a cow, but thinks she's a cow. By showing this short video, I'm just trying to put us in the mood here of how motherly and how affectionate, how attractive, how beautiful, how innocent are cows. And how we will read in the Gomata Vidya prayers, especially, why they are of absolute necessity in human society. So as I mentioned, this is very short. This was Karma Rupa Prabhu in Vrindavan, personally looking after the cows. Many abandoned cows in Vrindavan, as we know, not only in Vrindavan, of course. 10 cows learn to love. Means if we learn to care for cows who are the embodiment of affection, of love, we will also learn about love and affection. I will go to the second short video, which is entitled Cows Playing After Sunrise. I'm just beginning it here. Here we go. No words are needed so much. The scene is simply very attractive. This used to be common scene, of course, many years ago in so many villages of India. The closest I have seen to this is when I went to the border of Rajasthan and Gujarat, visiting the Patmeda, the largest Goshala in the world, where at any particular given time, they look after between 1 and 3 lakhs of cows. How majestic is this bull coming up? We can see one of those bulls, possibly this one, was part of the Yatra under the leadership of His Holiness Lokanath Maharaj. We hear wonderful descriptions in the Shastra, how in the late afternoon, when the cows would return from their various grazing areas, as they would be in large numbers returning to their homes, the dust of Vrindavan would become so thick. Actually, there is a nice description whereby the visit of Uddhava is described. The reason given why the residents of Vrindavan could not immediately understand why Uddhava, or when Uddhava rather, arrived in Vrindavan, was that he arrived at that specific time in the afternoon when the dust due to the walking of the cows was so thick that one could not see the arrival of Raghava.
Maharaj, we only see in small screen, Maharaj.
You only see small screen. How is this?
Yes, Maharaj, this is perfect.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, please intervene. So naturally cows, they like to play. Sometimes it seems like fighting, mock fighting. Sometimes it may be real fighting between bulls, especially. So just having darshan of cows, even one cow, what to speak of hundreds and thousands of cows, is all very auspicious. We have practically forgotten because of our modern way of living. We'll talk about that later on. This was a daily occurrence, not only in Vrindavan, but practically in every single village here in India, and I'm sure in other places as well. And we will now go to the, let's see. Oh, actually, I don't know if this is going to be possible or not, but the third video is on the internet and I have not downloaded it. I can share later on the link, and that one is entitled What Cows Want. Whether it's possible through technology to make this appear here, I cannot do that myself. So either Rishi Kumar, I sent the link actually.
Guru Maharaj, I can share this video if you allow.
Oh yes, by all means. Thank you. I want to give a little bit of background information to this. This was put together by a devotee in Australia many years ago. And he was looking after the cows for many, many years until maybe 5 years or 7 years back when he left his body due to some cancer. So he put this together and we can just listen to this. Basically, he put himself in the shoes of cows. We have lost our way. The video seems to be stuck. You are right not to use our products for commercial or sensual gain, which many of us still do and should not. This is depicting, of course, agro-business, modern dairy business, with all of its nasty conditions. We are in the mode of goodness. We are auspicious in all ways. And all our produce is pure and fit for offering to God. But how can we connect with Him if you can't or won't lovingly make that offering? You and I are intimately connected by religious and spiritual service. Please remember that connection. The connection is, of course, eternal. Don't just protect us for the sake and sentiment of animal rights, and don't protect us for the sake of drinking our milk guilt-free. Protect us for the absolute, for the sake of devotional service. Milk will be there for you, all no doubt. Just see how he always enjoys our company, Krishna. We are here for his pleasure. And if he is not present, we certainly suffer. We look out to the horizon for him in great separation. He accepts, he distributes our yogurt to his monkey friends. He even rolls about in our feet dust. He drinks straight from our udders and then plays courses, dear friends, with our milk. He personally searches us out when we are lost in the forest. If you want to make a point, stand against non-violence and cruelty. But in the process, if you want to make a point, stand against non-violence and cruelty. But in the process, you forsake and neglect us. That video is stuck. I think we're getting close to the end of this video in any event. So that's fine. Yeah. Just would like to make a few comments on this particular video. Our Vedic culture is actually based on cow care and cow protection. Our Vedic economy is very much centered on cow care and cow protection. We fail to understand in our modern day society for a number of reasons. One of the more obvious reasons is that most of us have been brought up, have been born in a situation which has in many ways disconnected us with Mother Cow. What we fail to understand is that Vedic culture has a very unique position in regards to the importance of Mother Cow, which is directly connected also with what is meant to be the lifestyle for the vast majority of people. Vedic culture is probably the only culture that I know which is giving so much of emphasis and importance on why cow is so essential and so vital. Another reason is that most of us have unfortunately not received proper Vedic education. We've not been trained, we've not been educated according to the norms that are given in the Shastra. For example, we know that there are some very clearly established areas of knowledge. They are referred to in the Shastra as sciences or vidyas. Specifically, they are known as Chatur Vidya, the 4 standard sciences. So I will not be giving a whole presentation on these 4 sciences, although they are extremely important. The reason I'm mentioning it here is that the 4th of these 4 sciences is known as the science of economics, or Varta. The first of the 4 sciences is known as Anvikshiki, the science of philosophy. The second of the sciences is known as Trai, the science of education for the Brahmanas. The third of the sciences is known as Dandaniti, or the science of politics. And the 4th standard Vedic science is known as Varta, or the science of economics. Now, these are 4 standard, unchangeable sciences because they are part of an eternal system, of an eternal, natural, and scientific way of living. which when followed ultimately helps individuals and society attain the goal of life, which more easily helps one become successful simultaneously, both on the material level as well as on the spiritual level. So this fourth science, science of economics, has been altered, has been, we could say, completely changed since the last few hundred years. And therefore, we see around the world the kind of chaotic situation that is prevalent. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna describes this science of economics as being Krishi Goraksha Vanijam Vaisha Karma Swabhavajam. So this is where cows come in the picture. Yes. And there are two very, let me see here. I will just share my screen again. This is a very well-known prayer. Namo Brahmanya Devaya, Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha, Jagat Hitaya Krishnaya, Govindaya, Namo Namaha. My Lord, you are the well-wisher of the cows and the brahmanas, and you are the well-wisher of the entire human society and world. From Vishnu Purana 1:1965. Viticulture naturally gives focus and emphasis on self-realization. And for the purpose of self-realization, these two living entities are of utmost importance. Go Brahmana, cows and brahmanas. Another important reference that we get actually from the Harivamsha Purana. Pratavya pratapam pratamam gava prataha trayanti tadvijam go brahmana paritrane paritratam jagat bhavet. First of all, cows should be protected. Cows, thus protected, will in turn protect the brahmanas. Thus, when protection of cows and brahmanas is achieved, then the whole world is protected. There are many similar types of references. There's a wonderful reference in the Mahabharata, which is given actually by Grandfather Bhishmadev. Grandfather Bhishmadev, while instructing Yudhishthira Maharaj, he very nicely explained that by the Lord's arrangement, humanity has been awarded 3 natural gifts. There are 3 natural gifts that are given to humanity so that one can prosper and attain the goal of life. When these 3 gifts of nature are properly honored, protected, respected, then the whole of humanity will prosper. And when the opposite happens, we can expect all kinds of calamities. What are those 3 gifts of nature? The first one mentioned by Grandfather Bhishmadev are cows. The second, land. And the third, knowledge. Cows, land, and knowledge. And of course, the perfection of knowledge is Krishna consciousness. The highest knowledge, the highest culture, the highest yoga is Krishna consciousness. I'm trying to make a point here. Anyone who has studied a little bit of history, going back just a few hundred years, since the days of the French Revolution in Europe, since the days of the Industrial Revolution, also in Europe, French Revolution in France, Industrial Revolution in England, since that time, the people in the world, or our modern society, has been going in the wrong direction, in a very destructive way. Why? Because we have been abandoning more and more what is meant to be standard ways of living, standard practices. So one of those standard ways of living is very much in relation to what Grandfather Bhishmadev is advising. That means that people in general are meant to be intimately and closely connected with cows, are meant to be closely and intimately connected with the land, and naturally are meant to be intimately, closely connected with the cultivation of knowledge, which is meant to culminate into the highest level of consciousness, which is Krishna consciousness. So in other words, when Srila Prabhupada speaks about the need to reintroduce Vedic culture, especially in the context of Varnasrama dharma, we cannot avoid speaking about culture, Vedic culture, without balancing these 2 levels of dharma. Ultimately, it all has to do with dharma. Ultimately, it has to do with our proper understanding of what is dharma. When we don't understand properly, when we don't understand clearly what is dharma, then naturally there will be deviations. From our Shastra, we come to know that dharma is meant to be practiced and realized on 2 levels. The spiritual level, which is the level of the soul, and the material level, which is referring to this body and this material world in which we are living. In many ways, the Brahmanas are the ones who specialize on cultivating knowledge and giving knowledge through the traditional educational systems of Gurukula, for example, and through the culture in general, how we are living, the various samskaras that are meant to be there, beginning with the marriage or family life, family nucleus, which is meant to be the standard within society. If we look at what is taking place around the world, family nucleus is very severely being threatened, especially in the Western countries. So this is the role and responsibility of Brahmanas. And the Brahmanas are the ones who know also how important are the cows, because the cows are the ones who will help us attain our, let's say, material goals in life. And of course, this brings me to the very wonderful prayer, one of many, of course, that I'd like to bring up here. And just like Srila Prabhupada would often, when quoting prayers composed by our various acharyas, he would explain how in these wonderful prayers composed by our acharyas, the whole philosophy of Krishna consciousness is contained. In a very similar way, and I'd like to share my screen again here. Whoops. Well. Okay, let's try this again. Yes. Yes, Gomati Vidya. I'll just bring this up to full screen. This Gomati Vidya is found in the Vishnu Dharmotara, part 2, 42, from verse 49 to 58. I put on the top here this link to the video we saw a little earlier. Gomatim katiyishyami sarva papa pranashinim tam tume varato vipra srinushva susamahitaha. O great Brahmana, now I shall reveal to you the Gomati Vidya, which uproots all sinful reactions. Hear this with full attention. Actually, this is in reply to a question of Pushkar, the son of Varuna. Lord Parashurama described this Gomati Vidya. So let's just continue. Gava Sarabhayo Nityam Gavo Gugula Gandika Gava Pratista Bhutanam Gava Swasayanam Param. The cow, who is another form of Surabhi, is the eternal mother of the universe. She is sacred, beautiful, and as fragrant as Gugula. the existence of all living entities depends upon the cow. She awards all of life's objectives. One may wonder, the existence of all living entities depends upon the cow. How is that possible? So many people seem to be living without any connection whatsoever to cows. There are many aspects, some of which will be covered in the PowerPoints that will be coming up shortly. We come to understand that actually one of the major global crises that we have around the world today, which is known as desertification. Most of us either don't know or don't realize how close to 80% of the soil on our planet today has become practically no longer fertile. The soil has been depleted very severely of its natural ability to produce food. And one of the main reasons is that we have changed in a major way. We have changed the way of interacting with the land. Again, coming back to what Bhishma Dev was mentioning, land, cows, and knowledge. As soon as we begin to separate cows and land, as we have done, as we are doing in modern day agriculture, then this, we can be assured, is spelling out eventually total destruction. There's a natural synopsis or symbiosis rather. There's a natural symbiosis, there's a natural interaction that takes place between cows and the land. And this, of course, is a very involved subject matter, which we do have within our ISKCON society, devotees who are expert and who can spend hours explaining how this is so in a very scientific manner. We have had devotees making presentations on this at various times. The fact of the matter is that when we disassociate and disconnect, as we have done in modern day society through modern day agriculture, cows and land, then this leads to total destruction. Let's continue with our Gomata Vidya. Okay, just one last point. Yeah, many people are disconnected with the cows, but see more closely how their life is being lived. In other words, the natural interaction that is meant to take place between cows and land is what assures the maximum and best sustainable situation so that there can be better production of food, there can be more harmony between man and nature. Coming back to our, Habisa mantra putena tarpayantya marandivi rishinam agnihotreshu Gavohome prayojitaha. By her milk and products, she helps demigods perform sacrifices. All the great sages use cow products as ingredients for their various activities. It is unthinkable for sadhus, for brahmanas, to practice their activities, especially they cannot perform agnihotra, they cannot perform any kind of samskara, inasmuch as it is inconceivable to practice Brahminical activities without cow and cow products. We come to know that it is also impossible for those who are Kaviraj, Ayurvedic doctors, to practice Ayurvedic medicine without the cow product of ghee. We come to know how ghee is of such immense importance. I came to know just a few days ago, one devotee, I believe from Chopati, made a presentation on the importance of ghee. I could not yet see the full video. In one of our presentations some years back, it was nicely explained how, just to demonstrate how important is ghee, the nutritional value of any food, of most food that we consume, that nutritional value will stay within the body for 3 days. When we take milk, the nutritional value of the milk will stay in the body for 7 days. When we consume yogurt, the nutritional value of yogurt will stay within the body for 10 days or more. And when we consume ghee, pure ghee, the nutritional value of ghee will stay within the body for 30 days. That is how important is ghee. As we know today, the vast majority of people in the world, including, unfortunately, the vast majority of our own devotees, don't use ghee, don't consume ahimsa milk, pure milk. And therefore, we have all kinds of health issues, which is directly connected with the kind of adulterated oil that we are using, adulterated milk that we are consuming. Let me just continue here. Sarvesham eva bhutanam gava saranamutamam gava pavitram paramam gavo mangalam utamam. The cow gives shelter to one who has no shelter. Among all purified objects, she is the most pure. And among all auspicious objects, she is the most auspicious. We cannot estimate, we cannot fathom the value of having cows, of keeping cows, and the benefits that are there, both materially as well as spiritually. Gava swargasa sopanam gavo dhanya sanatanaha namo gobhya simatebhya surabeyi bhyayevacha. The cow is a support by which one can directly transfer himself to heaven. She is also the perpetual cause of one's wealth and prosperity. I offer my obeisances to the cow in whose body Lakshmi resides. I offer my respect to the beautiful cow, for she is pure, simple, and aromatic. Namo Brahmasutavyascha Pavitrabhyo Namo Namaha Brahmanaschaiva Gavascha Kulamekam Dvidastitam. I bow down before the cow, who is the daughter of Brahma. She is pure, internally and eternally. Internally and externally, and she keeps the whole atmosphere pure by her presence. I repeatedly offer my obeisances to her. Actually, the cow and the Brahmana belong to the same family. Both are situated in the mode of goodness. I have another 4 minutes before finishing this slide here. And then because I'm looking at the time factor here, the PowerPoints that have not yet been shown, we will not have time to show them. We will make them available later on for those who would like both the PowerPoint made by Raghava Raman Prabhu, as mentioned earlier, and also Vrishabha Prabhu. Both are very excellent and worth watching. Ekatra mantra sistanti havir ekatra chistati deva brahmana go sadhu sadvibi sakalam jagat. If brahmanas are qualified to recite Vedic mantras, then cows will supply ingredients for their sacrifices. Only by the combination of both, the brahmanas and the cows, is the performance of sacrifice for the pleasure of Vishnu complete. Dharyate yaya sada tasmat sarve pujatama sada yatra tirthe saragava pibanti trishita jalam. The cow is the support of the entire world, as well as all of the demigods, the brahmanas, the saintly persons, the chaste ladies, and other pious beings. She is always worshipable. Wherever the thirsty cow drinks water from, that water, that source of water, is as good as the Ganga, Jamuna, Sindhu, or Saraswati. Uttaranti pathayena sita tatra Saraswati gavam itirti vasati Ganga pratistata chaha. In the body of the cow, all holy places and rivers are present. The cow is the source of all nourishment and religious principles. Lakshmi resides in cow dung. Tatrijasi prabhrithacha Lakshmi karishi pranatao dharmasta sampranamam cha satatam cha kuyatchaha. By offering respect to cows, one captures the 4 objectives of life: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Therefore, all intelligent persons who desire benefit should offer obeisances to the cow. So I'm looking at the time, it is 2:12. I possibly need some directions from our host as to, it was not actually made clear to me whether there is a possibility for any discussion or any questions, although the presentation isn't complete yet.
Yes, Maharaj, we can have some questions. We can go for questions from Maharaj.
Yeah. Okay. And as I mentioned before going for questions, 2 small things. Some of the presentations that I mentioned a little earlier, they can be made available later on, either through Rambi Jai Prabhu or Shikumar Prabhu. And the other thing before taking questions is that hopefully some of the material presented, which is meant to be leading up to the importance of this concept of cow culture. cow culture, Vedic culture is primarily a cow-based culture. Cow-based culture. If we forget this, then we are doomed. Vedic culture is finished. See, just like Gandhi would say, if in our villages we no longer have cows, our villages are doomed, which is happening under our very eyes today. And therefore, that is why we are trying to promote what is called the ISKCON campaign to sensitize and bring about awareness to as many people as possible. I will end here and want to thank you very much for being so attentive. And now we can take some questions. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Can I ask one question, which I received from Pran Govind Das Prabhuji? How does the protection of cows primarily is considered as a spiritual practice? How it is important for Srila Prabhupada's followers? Guru Maharaj, you are mute, Guru Maharaj.
Okay. Sorry. Yes. Protection of cows is very much directly connected with the spiritual aspect of dharma, because without cows, we cannot practice the basics of what is spirituality. Without cows, without, for example, for us to install deities, we know that the deities are meant to be bathed in the 5 basic products of cow: milk, yogurt, ghee, cow urine, and cow dung. If we don't have cows, we don't have deities. If we don't have cows, we also cannot perform jagya. So there's a whole realm of ways by which cows are absolute necessity for helping us practice and understand dharma. Prabhupada also explains how the simple drinking of milk helps to create these finer tissues in the brain that help us to understand spiritual subject matters. Spirituality is not such an easy thing to understand. So unless we have purified consciousness, and we have purified body also by taking sattvic food, by taking pure ghee, then we will have less of an opportunity to to practice spirituality. So for this and many other reasons, Prabhupada gave importance to cows. And the unfortunate situation in the world today is that, practically speaking, the whole world is disconnected with cows. And what is even more critical and unfortunate, that the vast majority of our own devotees, the vast majority of our own devotees are disconnected with cows. And this is not acceptable. This is not acceptable. If we want to actually make an impact, if we actually want to make positive changes in the world, we have to show by example, not simply philosophize. It's right, nicely explained in our literatures, but unless we demonstrate that practically, no one will take us seriously. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Second question is from Raghuram Lakshman Das Prabhuji. He's asking, soil lost ability to reproduce. How this can come back?
Yes. Soil, productivity of soil can come back by bringing back the cows, by throwing out the tractors. In other words, by restoring the natural link, the natural interaction that is meant to take place between cows and land. We have forgotten that, you know. And therefore, in other words, modern day agribusiness is extremely destructive to the environment, and it is destructive. So the simple solution is to replicate, to bring back the model that Krishna in Vrindavan demonstrated. So therefore, our ideal, and that's why Prabhupada spoke about make Vrindavan villages. That's what every village in India is meant to become. Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Sachi Prana Chetandas wants to ask question.
Yes, yes.
Maharaj, Dandavat Pranams. Thank you so much for organizing this Gomata Glories, and to help all the KKD devotees know about the importance of connecting with the cow and the land and the knowledge related to cow.
Yes.
Maharaj, one quick question. Most of the devotees across the world are living in the places where there is no direct connection with the cow or the land.
Yes.
They have to use the industrialized commercial himsa milk or the products which are produced in these big industries, where you know that there's a lot of cruelty and the way they treat the cows, and once the cows produce, they're also used for the other industries like leather and stuff. So do you suggest that the devotees across the globe should or should not use the products which are produced by the industries?
Yes, that is a very important question. And of course, the decision is upon each individual. I know many of my god brothers and other devotees within our ISKCON society who have, since many years, stopped consuming commercial milk, for example. And we have a moral responsibility as individuals who are meant to uphold the principles of Dharma, to live our philosophy, to practice our philosophy. And therefore, that is one of the reasons, maybe 2 years ago now, the topmost leadership within our ISKCON society, the GBC, passed a resolution whereby by the year 2021 or 22, I believe 2022, all of our ISKCON temples in the world, all of our ISKCON city temples and otherwise also, should only be offering ahimsa milk to our deities. Actually, not only we should be offering ahimsa milk only to the deities, but we should only be offering that to our own devotees. What to speak of milk, Prabhu? Most of us are eating food that is poison. Most of us are not understanding this. Unless we know the source of where the food is coming from, and even, I would say, better than that, unless we grow our own food, unless we ourselves grow our own food, then we don't know what we are putting into this body. And as a result, today we have so many people around the world, including our own devotees, who have serious ailments, serious medical issues, because the vast majority of food on the market today is not organic food, is not natural food, has been has been tampered with in so many different ways. So the food, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, he wanted that we produce our own food. He repeated this again and again. He wanted that we produce our own cloth, produce your own food, produce your own cloth, produce your own medicine. So, in other words, there are some basic principles that are there in the Vedic culture. If we don't understand these basic principles, then we will continue to go along with the madness that is there in modern day society. So now that we know more and more, practically every month and every year, we know more and more the atrocities that are taking place in how the food is being produced and then how milk is being put out in the market. So therefore, we should become educated about the situation, and we should take our decisions accordingly.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Another question from Vamsuli Das Prabhuji. We are seeing people wishfully engaging business of cow products, but bulls are being killed or neglected.
Yes. So we cannot speak about cow protection without also speaking about bull protection. Cow protection is meant to also include bulls. So therefore, both are of extreme importance, and the protection of bulls will only happen when we finally learn our lesson. That, if somebody would read, especially our grihastas, if our grihastas would take a little bit of time to read the 11th chapter that is there in the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that is canto number 7, chapter 11. The first of 5 chapters where Narada Muni speaks about Varnasrama. Prabhupada clearly explains that actually the natural occupation for the vast majority of householders is meant to be agriculture. The vast majority, that means that the vast majority of our devotees are meant, and people in general, are meant to be living off the land, growing our own food, maintaining cows and bulls, and in this way, more easily practicing our Krishna consciousness and more easily demonstrating this wonderful philosophy of Krishna consciousness that Prabhupada took so much of pain and troubles to write in his different purports. How many of us are putting into practice these purports of Srila Prabhupada? So yes, cow protection means protection of bulls simultaneously.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, we receive tons of questions. So please, like how much time you have or we have, so that we can ask few more questions if time permits.
Yeah, we can go for another 5-10 minutes possibly.
Okay, Maharaj. So next question is from Radhapati Shyamdas Prabhu. His message is how we can do being away from India, and what is the practical way we can do Go Seva?
So the question is for those who are away from India, how they can do something practical for Go Seva, right?
Yes, Maharaj.
A number of ways. one is to become acquainted with this subject matter and understand how it is a most integral part of our mission. It is an integral part of our preaching. And therefore, one of the ways we have tried to introduce this topic of cow care or cow culture or cow protection is through this Om Sri Surabhi campaign. And you will be pleased to know that we have about over 20 countries right now where we have devotees who are very interested in understanding more how they can be involved. So if someone is away from India, if someone is not having that possibility of directly serving cows, then I would suggest that you connect and you try to support activities of those who are endeavoring to, let's say, revive our Vedic culture in this whole area of self-sufficient communities. Because Vedic villages means villages that are based on the concept of self-sufficiency and sustainability. We started, for example, last year in the month of May, Varnasrama College Online. Varnasrama College Online, anyone can become a student, can take up different courses. And there are three main objectives of that initiative. And they're all interconnected actually with cow culture. The first initiative is to actually to establish Gurukulas. India is the ideal place to promote this. And it is urgently needed as well. This is the first of three objectives we have: establish as many Gurukulas as possible. Number two, establish as many Varnasrama colleges as possible. And number three, establish as many Vedic villages as possible. Of course, in India, we already have hundreds and thousands of villages, close to 7 lakhs villages. How many of us are going to the villages? Of course, people in India, they can do this. If you're outside of India, you cannot directly do that, but you can connect with some particular project, either here in India, or we have a lot of very brave souls, brave devotees outside of India, whether it's in Europe or in Africa or in America or South America, who are endeavoring to actually revive our Vedic culture in connection with this cow culture. So this Om Sri Surabhi campaign is trying in its own small way to bring awareness, and there is opportunity to link or to connect people to some of the activities that are ongoing. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Maybe we can take this as a last question by Her Grace Guru Gauri Gaurangi Devi Dasi Mataji. She is messaging, Hare Krishna, dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. My question is related to milking a cow. We see that the calf is allowed to drink milk, but in few moments it's separated from its mother and the milkman draws the milk. So I wanted to know, as per Vedic scriptures, how much milk should be for the calves and for the humans?
Yes, that's a good question. And our Vedic Shastras give us clear guidelines. For example, as soon as a calf is born, the cow, excuse me, the milk from the cow should be completely for the calf. And that should go on for weeks, if not months. So the specific details at a certain period, then it may be possible to separate and to have one portion for the calf, one portion for humans. And there are guidelines, as I mentioned, and they have to do also with the period of the year. For example, during the rainy season, it will be different than during the dry season. There are guidelines in terms of whether the cow should be milked once a day or twice a day. I would suggest, to get more details on this, to contact those who are in charge of our ministry for cow protection here in India. We also have a global ministry for cow protection. And therefore, by contacting these individuals who are in charge, they can give you some clear information as to how to do this in a very detailed and practical way. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. We can end up, as Ram Vijay Prabhu told, that this is the last question. I just would like to say the vote of thanks for your wonderful session, Maharaj. I mean, you are very courageous and very bold. First of all, saving the deities is one that courageous aspect which nobody can ever forget. And the second also is most courageous to protect the cows, because now you know the killing is happening and the way the world mistreating the cows. So this is a very bold and courageous activity which I've taken on as a project for you, and you're driving all of us devotees towards that. So thank you very much, Maharaj, for your wonderful project, and to give us the knowledge about the Gomati Vidya today. Just a little capture what I have done during your session, how the Pushkar, the son of Varuna, is asking questions to Parashuram, the Lord Parashuram, and the importance of cows, how they are so auspicious. They should be treated very nicely, and all those things which you have mentioned during your class. Especially, yes, we cannot think of deity worship without cows. It is impossible. Havisha mantra rupena. So samskaras can never happen without cow ghee or milk or the curd. And you also put good points about the nutritional value of milk. All the cow products, such as the milk stays like 3 days, and you said curds nutritional value stays about 7 days, and the ghee, I think 30 days. So it's a wonderful point to be noted. So as much as ghee, that's why I've seen most of the Brahmanas, especially I come from South India, and they're very used to cow ghee usage every day in their everyday meal.
Yeah.
And also, thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj, for providing this information on the GBC resolution, that the ahimsa milk will be used in all these ISKCON temples for the deity worship, as well as you stressed the point on the what Bhishma Deva has mentioned to Yudhishthir about the 3 gifts to this material world, which is the cows, the land, and the knowledge, and our dharmas, which is both spiritual and the material dharma. So when it comes to spiritual dharma, it is basically our KC Krishna consciousness and being, serving the mission. And the material dharma, Krushi, Go, Raksha, Vanijam, that is what is a primary dharma which we all should adopt. And with this, I just want to say many thanks to you, Maharaj, for being in midst of us and giving this important lecture. Thank you so much,
Very well.
Maharaj.
Okay. Thank you,
Hare
Prabhu.
Krishna.